How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another iOS tutorial, and in today's video we're going to be looking at how we can create this image and note-taking app in SwiftUI, and it's going to be called iReceipt because the main purpose of this app was actually to go ahead and to capture receipts that come from the library and to actually log the receipts that we have so we can keep track of all the finances that we have to take care of. So as you can see, I went ahead and selected an image, and then we can go ahead and give this image a title such as expensive dinner, and then we can choose to add a note if we want, otherwise we don't have to. I will just say this was a very expensive dinner, and we can confirm the changes, and it will take us back to our main view. And in case we want to close the app and reopen it for whatever reason, you'll notice that our items are going to remain there, even the image and also the text that we have specified. So it's a very simple note-taking app that actually keeps into account the images we want to add, and we can add as many images as we want. And I'm just going to say right now that this is a very good project for getting started with SwiftUI. And it's not going to dive into anything complicated like core data. We're going to use all of the basics, including user defaults and so on. So here we can write something else, such as title 2, and say this is a description. And we can confirm the changes. And then we're going to have both of them over here. And once again, if we decide to close the app and do whatever we want and come back to the app, we will have our finances here available for us to track. And I went ahead and also added a delete button so you can delete all the finances at once. But I feel like I've been speaking a lot just over the demo. Let's go ahead and actually get started with creating this. So the first thing we want to do is go ahead and create a new empty project in Xcode. And the next thing we're going to do is create a bunch of empty folders. So first, to create an empty folder, just hold Option-Command+N, and it's going to create a folder such as that one. And the first one we want to create is called the image picker feature, because we want to just have a place for features that do their job. And inside here, we're going to go ahead and create a new file of type Swift file and click on next. And we're going to call this file image picker. Now, I'm not really going to explain how to create an image picker. In fact, I'm just going to direct you to my GitHub repository, and there will be a link in the description down below for you to go to. Click on iReceipt, and then go ahead and click on the image picker feature. Click on image picker, and then go ahead and click on raw. And what we want to do is copy this whole file here and just paste it inside here. It's just going to implement an image picker in UIKit, and we don't really have to worry about this right now. It's something that you'll learn in the future. For now, all that we care is that it picks an image and it returns to us the image that we want to use. So we can go ahead and minimize this folder now and drag it right under the content view. Next, go ahead and click on iReceipt demo or whatever you named your project once again, and create another group. Here we're going to create something called image data for our data model. And inside there, we'll create one more folder, which is going to be called model. And inside the model, we're going to create a new Swift file, and it's going to be called image data model. And we can leave that empty for now. And finally, we want to create one more folder. So go ahead and click on ContentView or whatever you want and create a new folder. This one's going to hold all of the views we need for the project. So immediately you can go ahead and drag the content view inside there so that we have some organization in our project. And I'm going to drag the image data model right below the views. Now inside the views folder, go ahead and create two SwiftUI files. And the first one's going to be called HomeView. And the next one is going to be called Notes Detail View. And that will take care of all the views we need to make this project function. So that's going to be the basic project structure. And now we can get started immediately with creating our content view, which is going to be the outer layer of our entire project. Now, the first feature that we want to implement is the image picker itself. So go ahead and create a state variable, which is called show image picker. and it's going to be of type Boolean, and it's going to be set to false. Then immediately inside the body, we can go ahead and create a navigation view with a VStack inside. And just as a placeholder, we're going to type in if false, which is a case that's going to be false forever, because we later need to change this with if the data is empty. And if it is empty, we're going to show a placeholder text. So if false, which is always the case in this example, we're going to go ahead and show this image or this text of try adding a note, or we can even say a receipt to be more clear. And it's going to be italic with a foreground color set to gray. Else we want to show our home view. And I actually meant to set this to true, so go ahead and change that, and we'll see immediately that the placeholder text says try to add a receipt. And it's going to give us an error that this will never be executed because true is not a variable and will be true forever. But we have to come back to that and change that later. Now, immediately under the VStack, we're going to go ahead and create a navigation title, which is called iReceipt. And of course, this can just be a normal note-taking app. In your case, you can call it whatever you want. It doesn't have to be about receipts. But for this example, I'm going to stick with the former project. Then we're going to create a sheet, which is going to take the isPresented parameter, and it's going to be bound to show image picker. So inside the sheet, we have to go ahead and provide an image picker. And it's going to be an image picker with the source type of type photo library. And then we have to open up a closure that says image in, and this is what's going to be returned from the image picker. And here we just have to add whatever we receive to the library or to the array. So here we just say add notes / image to array. And just to make sure that everything's working, we're going to print \image.scale so that we get some feedback to whether the image actually got selected or not. And right below the sheet, we have to go ahead and create a toolbar. And the content is of course going to be inside a closure. So first we have to create a toolbar item with the placement set to .navigation bar trailing. And inside the closure, we can go ahead and create a button. And we just want to toggle the show image picker. So go ahead and toggle that. And we need to provide a label. So the label is going to be this closure. And inside we can go ahead and type in label is equal to or includes an image with a system image of photo.on.rectangle.angled. And let's close the sidebar for now. So we have some space here. And let's go ahead and run the live preview. Now, if you go ahead and tap on this, you should see an image library opening up. And if you tap on an image, it's going to load it. And of course, since we're not running a live emulator, we're not going to be able to see this print statement. So let's go ahead and actually test if that's working by running the emulator. So right here, we can go ahead and tap on this image over here. And it's going to load the image library where we can select an image such as that receipt. And when we go back, it's going to give us this output, which says 1.0, which is the image scale, which means we successfully were able to select an image and we're now able to use this image in our project. So the next thing to do is to go down below this toolbar item and create another one. And it's going to have the same placement, and actually it's going to have a lot of the same stuff. So just go ahead and copy the first one and paste it right under. And the button is going to be with animation. And inside here, we need to remember to reset all user data so that we can refresh the whole receipt list. And here we have a label called trash. And of course, the icon is going to be set to a trash can with a tint of .red. Now, of course, more intuitively, you can go ahead and just add a plus or something like that. It just tells the user they can select something new. But for this example, since we know we have to select from the image library, I just added some images. But now let's go ahead and work on the image model. Then we can go back and edit the home view and the note detail view so that we can edit the notes. But let's go ahead and get some note data up and running. So first let's go to our image data, go to the model and click on image data model. We can close the sidebar because we have a lot that we have to do inside here, such as import SwiftUI. And we're going to create a struct, which is a data class, of course, of image node. And this is going to be codable, hashable, and also identifiable. So for identifiable, we'll type in var ID is equal to UUID, so that each node has a signature ID. Now we're going to create a var of image, which is going to be of type data, a var of title, which is of type string, and a var of description, which will be of type string. So this is the basic data that each node will contain: an image, a title, and a description. Now let's go ahead and create a class of the image data. So since this will be on the main thread, we have to throw in the main actor, and it's going to be a class of image data, which conforms to the observable object protocol. Since we're going to be using user defaults for this project, we're going to have to go ahead and provide a key. And in general, it's recommended you do not use user defaults for projects like this one because images contain lots of data. And when you load user defaults, it actually loads everything at once at the beginning of your app. So it can create some very slow startups for your application, which of course is not good when you have large quantities of data. But for getting started today, we're just going to go ahead and make everything simple and use user defaults for this example. So inside here, we'll type in private let, we don't want anyone to know about this, images key equal whatever you want the images key to be called. I'll just call it images key. Then we want to create an array of image nodes. So var image node will be an array of image node. And inside here, we need to create a closure. And we're going to type in didSet. So every time we assign a value to this image node, it's going to trigger the following code. We need to go ahead and trigger objects will change .send. So that's just going to tell the program that something's about to change and that you look out that it's actually changing. And then below that, we're going to create a method called saveData. And it's giving me an error because I typed in observed object instead of observable object. And it does this quite often, which is quite annoying, but make sure you have observable object there. And of course, the error is not going to go away because we need to go ahead and create an initializer. So the initializer is going to take care of loading the data and also displaying what happens if there's no data. So here we can go ahead and type in if let data equal user defaults dot standard dot data for key images key. So we're going to look for the image data with this key. If there is data, we're going to check if let decoded nodes, and we want to try something here. Otherwise, we just return. And we're going to use a JSON decoder dot decode from the array of image nodes. So we want to get our images back from this array. And it's going to be from the data that we just got back. And if that goes good, we can go ahead and assign image node to the decoded nodes and print that node data successfully retrieved and return out of this. And if anything goes wrong, we're going to go ahead and assign image node to an empty array. And we need to add some parentheses to the init. And I forgot to add the .self to the array. Now, right below the initializer, we're going to add the functionality that adds a node, that edits the node, and that can save the data and reset all of the data. So function add node, which takes a few parameters, such as an image of type UI image, a title of string, and a description of string. Now, first we want to convert the image into a PNG representation, which will be considered data so that user defaults can accept it. So here we type in if let PNG representation equal image.png data. If that actually works, if we can pass it into that, Then we can go ahead and type in let temporary note, so temp note, equal image note, the big one, with the initializer of image title and description, because the UUID will be created automatically for us. And inside here we add the PNG representation followed by the title, and that will also follow the description. Then we can type in image note dot insert, and we want to insert the temporary note at the index of 0. So it's the first one that pops up at the top. Then we can go ahead and print note added. And right below that, we need to save the data. So save data. And actually, we can just take this away and this away, so they're actually working. And immediately under, we'll just go ahead and type in function, save data, and do that. So we get no errors. Next, we need to go ahead and create a function called edit note. And this one's going to take an ID of type UUID. It's going to take a new title of type string and a description of type string. Now, the first thing we have to do is search for the note. So we're going to type in if let note equal image note dot first, and we're going to use this closure of where, and what we want to do is find out where the image note dot ID is equal to the ID that we're searching for. So this is the note we're looking for, and this is the ID we specified inside here. So if this ID specifies any of the notes ID, we're going to know that that's the note we want to edit. Then we're going to open up this closure and let the index equal the image note, the small one, equal the first index of the notes that we just created or found. Then we want to go ahead and type in image note at the index, which is going to be asserted as non-nil, dot title will be equal to the title. And we will do the same thing for the description. So image note at the index of the index, non-nil dot description will be set to the description. So this will take care of finding the note in any part of our program and editing it. Now we have a function called save data. So here we need to go ahead and type in if let encoded notes equal try JSON encoder dot encode image note. So we want to try doing this. And if that works, we can go ahead and use the user defaults dot standard dot set encoded notes for key images key. So that will put our note into the user defaults. And finally, there's only one last thing we have to do inside here, and it's create the function that resets the user data. And actually, let's make this one a private function, because it should not be seen outside of this class. So here we type in function reset user data. And inside here, we just go ahead and type in user defaults dot standard dot remove object for key, and here we insert the images key. And we can also go ahead and call user defaults dot reset standard user defaults. And down here we'll type in image note is equal to an empty array, so it updates immediately. And from the documentation, I read that this should actually achieve the same result as this, in the sense that this resets everything, but from my experience, or running the program several times, that did not work as I wanted it to. So I just added both of these just to make sure that it actually removes the object no matter what happens. But this will take care of our entire image data model class. So now we have the methods we need to manipulate the data. Now we just need to go back to our content view and our home view and the detail view and actually put this all together. So inside the content view, we want to go back up to the top, and here we'll type in at state object var image data is going to equal image data. And at the bottom of all of this, we need to go ahead and inject the environment data. So here we type in EnvironmentObject and type in image data, so that we can use it inside this content view. And all the views inside it will also inherit this data. So the first thing we will do while we're down here is reset the data. So to do that, type in image data dot reset user data. And that will take care of removing all of the information from our array in our note-taking app. Then we can go up. And here we can go ahead and type in, instead of if true, we can type in if image data dot image note dot is empty. Then we're going to say try adding a receipt. So this will check if the array is empty or not. And if the array is empty, then we're just, of course, going to show this placeholder so the user doesn't feel confused why the screen is empty. And finally, we need to go ahead and fix this part over here. So we're going to type in image data dot add note, and it's going to take an image of UI image, which is the image we receive, a title, which is going to be a default title such as edit me, and a description, which is going to be set to nothing initially. And with that all being done, the code should still run perfectly. And we haven't added anything to the home view, so we don't know what to expect yet. Nothing's going to happen if we add an image. At least it's not going to pop up on the screen, but it will pop up in the data. So up next, let's go ahead and edit the home view. And as soon as we're done editing this, we'll be able to see our notes immediately. So let's go ahead and create an @EnvironmentObject so we can manipulate the image data of image data. And we need to add a variable, of course. And that's going to be of type image data. And down here we inject that, so .EnvironmentObject image data, and do that. Now we can go ahead and create a list, and inside the list we create a ForEach loop with the image data .image note. And for each note in this array, we want to go ahead and create a navigation link. So navigation link, and the destination is going to be set to a text view for now, which we of course have to replace later with the detail view. And we can just type in quotation marks, backslash, double parentheses, and type in notes.title. And then we have to open this up so we can add an HStack followed by an image of type UI image. And of course, inside here, we can just type in UI image with the data set to note.image. And we have to provide an exclamation mark to assert that this will never be empty. And it's going to be .resizable with a frame of a width of 50 and a height of 50. And alignment will be set to .center. Then right below that, we can create a VStack with an alignment of .leading. And the text will be set to note.title. And the line limit will be set to 2. So right now we don't really have any sample data inside here, but let's go ahead and run the application. Now you'll notice that if we go ahead and tap on our images, we can go ahead and select a placeholder image such as this receipt over here, and it's going to be added to our array. So if we click on the array, it's going to take us to this detail screen, but we cannot edit anything yet. We can go ahead and close this, and of course we can go ahead and reopen it, and the data will persist. But of course, what we really want to be able to do is to go back and edit this. So let's return to our code. We don't see anything here besides a log that says the note was added, and that's absolutely fine for this example. But now let's go and open our sidebar and open the note detail view. Now, there's actually going to be a lot that we're going to do inside here, because of course we want to customize this in a lot of ways. So the first thing, as always, is to inject the environment object so we can get the data of image data of type image data. Then we want to go ahead and add a state variable of var note, which will be of type image note, and @environment, which will take a backslash dot presentation mode as var presentation mode. Now, of course, we need to provide the environment object inside here. And this time we're also going to provide a preview image so that we can actually see what we're working with. So first we're going to type in let temp image equal a UI image with a system name of map, and we're going to try to pass that to PNG data. Now, we're still missing a note object in here. So go ahead and type in note, provide a simple image note, and we're going to provide the ID, the image, the data, and everything. So for the ID, just type in UUID. For the image, we just type in temp image. For the title string, we can just type in test. And for the description, we can type in test description. And remember to add the exclamation mark to temp image. Now, visually, nothing has changed, but of course, we can use this information now to create our form and to actually show a really nice detail view with a section. And inside here, we'll add an H stack, and we should add a spacer because inside we want to add an image of type UI image with UI image, and the data is going to be set to note.image exclamation mark. So now we have a map over there. A map that will be .resizable, and that will have a frame with a width of 300, a height of 300, and the alignment set to center. So this is just a test placeholder. Of course, you can add whatever image you want inside here, but for me, this was enough to understand where the image will be placed. And also remember to add a spacer right below it, so it centers it perfectly. And that's where the receipt will go, or any image you want will go. Next, we're going to add a text field that says edit me exclamation mark, with the text set to the binding variable of note.title. Text selection will be enabled, and on tap gesture will set the note.title to be an empty string, so the user doesn't have to completely select it to reset it. Next, we have a Z stack with a text editor, and the text will be bound to the note.description with text selection.enabled, and a frame with a height set to 200. So they have some more space to do whatever they want. And then let's go ahead and add a word counter. This is just a personal preference. You don't have to add this, of course, but I liked it. So go ahead and add a V stack, a spacer, and inside here we create an H stack, and again a spacer. And then we add a text with some quotation marks, backslash, note.description.count divided by 120. It's a very Twitter feeling kind of counter, so the user knows how much they're writing, with a foreground color of .gray and some padding. I think it looks quite nice. And right below the Z stack, we can go ahead and create one more H stack with a spacer and actually another spacer. And between those, we create a button that says confirm changes. And we will open this closure because we need to provide image data dot edit notes. And here we type in note.id, title will be note.title, and description will be note.description. And as soon as this is pressed, we'll also go ahead and type in presentation mode wrapped value.dismiss. So this will just dismiss this view as soon as we click on confirm changes, and it will take us to our parent view. But with that being done, we can go to our home view, and instead of having a destination of text, we just go ahead and type in note detail view, and it's going to ask us for a note, which will be the note that we pass into this closure. So now we have this note detail view, and we should be able to use it in our application. If we go ahead and rerun our program, you're going to notice that all the notes from earlier are going to pop up inside our app, such as this one over here. And when we click on edit me, it's going to be able to become edited. So here we can type in grocery list or grocery money. I don't know what to call it. Say, I spent a lot of money on crisps. and confirm the changes, it will take us back to the main screen. And of course, if we want, we can add another receipt. And here we'll type on Whole Foods. We'll type in, I spent more money. I love eating crisps. And confirm the changes. And we'll have both of them inside our list. And of course, if we open this up, we can close it and we can reopen the app and all of our data will still be there. And of course, you can edit it again if you want, and you can click on the grocery money and everything will be there. And finally, if we click on this bin over here, it's going to animate and remove all of the items from the array. So also, if we go ahead and reopen the list, you're going to notice that everything's gone for good. Now, there are a few challenges for yourself if you do want to improve your programming. And one of them would be replacing, of course, the user defaults with a better database system. And the second one would be removing, let's say, single objects from the array, not using the entire delete everything, but just removing one at a time, because very often the user would like to keep some of the nodes, but they want to have a very easy way to remove specified nodes. And yeah, those are just a couple challenges if you're up for it. Otherwise, in the near future, we'll be going over how to address these issues and fix them in a much more pleasant way. But for getting started, I think this was a great project and there's a lot to learn about data, about views and how to manipulate all of this. So good job, guys. And I really hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you did, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. I love to read them. But otherwise, have a wonderful day and I'll see you in the next video.